This video will show you how to replace the front outside mirror on a Cadillac CTS. This will be mounted to your front door. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Let's start removing the door panel. To do that, we're up along the top. We need to remove our door lock knob. If you are looking in this area here, you can see that we do have a square trap door. This is actually the lock for the door lock knob, so I'm using a small pocket screwdriver. You can use a small pick. Gently pull that out and away, and you should be able to lift that knob out. That's how it unlocks. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. Now, as far as this small trim panel, it's actually part of the door panel and it does not have to be removed. So once you have it pulled away from the door, let's continue on to the inside door handle area. Now down here, we have to remove this entire plastic panel. Keep in mind there will be an electrical connector where your door lock switch is. I'm continuing on with my plastic trim tool. I want to start prying this out. I'll make my way down along this area. Once I have it all broken free along here, we're going to pull on the inside door handle and slide the entire thing out of place. As I mentioned, just keep in mind there is a wiring harness back here. Obviously, we're being aware of any pinch points. Are. Now I'm rotating this so I can slide the door handle out of the trim panel. We have to disconnect the electrical connector for the door lock switch. It has one locking tab right in this area. For this locking tab, I like to use a small pocket screwdriver. You can also use a pick. Just make your way under it and gently pull out on that wiring harness. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, just give it a quick peek for corrosion. If you see any, it has to be taken care of. This looks fine, so I'm going to set this switch panel aside. We'll tuck the wiring inside of the door panel. Let's make our way towards where our window and mirror switches are. You might also have a seat memory switch. We're going to remove this entire plastic panel, and we have to disconnect our two electrical connectors. As far as this panel is concerned, you're going to find that there's 4 locking tabs. You have one along the forward side here. You have a second along the rearward side. Along each side of this panel, approximately in the center, you're going to have plastic tabs that protrude out and they go underneath the door panel. So you're just going to have to carefully separate that as we continue on lifting this up and out of position. Keep in mind there are a couple wiring harnesses. As far as the forward and rearward side, there should be metal clips holding it in position, so I like to use a small pocket screwdriver. I'll come in straight, come in down at an angle, and then just start prying it up. As I'm prying it up, of course I'm being aware of any pinch points. I don't want to get hurt, but I do want to keep some light pressure. Let's continue on towards the center here. Now this is where I should have that plastic tab. I just want to try to pry this out and away. I'm just separating this. There's that plastic tab. It's starting to lift up. I need to make my way towards the rear. Along the rear, once again, you should have a metal locking tab in here. We're just going to try to work that out of position, and we should be able to lift this up and out. So looking from the bottom of the switch panel, we have our first electrical connector. This is for our large switch panel. This is for the window switch and our mirror switch. It has one locking tab here. Just go ahead and squeeze it in, and we'll pull that right out of place. You know what to do. That looks good. Continue on to the seat switch. Now this has a locking tab as well. We're going to have to press that in. It's typically done by hand. You can also use some pliers or a small screwdriver if necessary, if it's stuck in place. That looks good. Let's move towards where the grab handle is. Looking in this area, you have a small plastic trap door. This will have 4 locking tabs holding it in position. As far as those are concerned, typically once you start prying it out, the tabs should just separate and we'll roll it out of position. You can come from the top or the bottom, whatever's easiest for you. I'll use my small pocket screwdriver, something small enough to make my way in this area. As I mentioned, we're just going to pull it right out of place. There's those tabs. This looks good. Now let's have a look inside of this port. So once you remove that panel, if you were to look inside this area, you're going to find that you have 2 Phillips head screws. Let's remove the pair. There's our first mounting screw. Let's get that next one. To continue removing the door panel, we're going to carefully make our way behind the panel, in between the door and the panel itself, start pulling it away. For this, I'm going to be using a trim tool along the side. We'll start breaking it free, of course being aware of any pinch points. With that said, let's start prying this out of place. Just find an area you can make your way in between. Generally along the side will be the easiest to start. Once it starts coming out, you can do it by hand. Just be aware of any pinch points. Now once you have it all broken free along the bottom, we're paying attention along the top. We'll carefully lift up on this and pull it away from the door. Let's have a quick look behind this area. Now that we have the door panel out of the way, we have a clear view of our front outside mirror wiring harness. It leads all the way down in this area. Now as I tug on this wiring harness, I can see where the two wires lead to the electrical connectors into this panel. We're going to disconnect the green electrical connector and the black electrical connector right next to it. As far as each of these electrical connectors, I like to use a small pocket screwdriver, but you can also do this by hand. Press in on the locking tab. When you press in on the tab, pull out on the wiring. A quick inspection for corrosion. Move along to the black electrical connector next. Same process, press in on the locking tab, pull it out of place. Now as we start pulling out on this, you can see that it does go behind this other wiring harness. Of course, we want to make our way in and through there. You can pry that out of position by hand, or you can use a small prying device. Typically, you should be able to pull it right out. Behind this electrical wiring harness as well. So as we follow this up, we have the upper mounting point. You could either pull this out of place by hand, or you can use a small prying device. I'm using a trim tool. Let's continue up near the top. Now as we make our way up here, you can see that we have three 10mm mounting nuts. We have two here next to the electrical wiring harness, and then we have one out in this outer corner. I'm going to start with the outboard one here. And now on to the other two. Keep in mind, these are the last things holding the mirror in place. We don't want it to fall. I like to hold on to the electrical wiring harness for this part. Now at this point, we can carefully start taking hold of the mirror. We're going to pull it out and away. We do have a small rubber grommet around this area, so while I'm pulling on that mirror, I'm just going to press down on the rubber grommet and push it through the port, obviously being aware of any pinch points. As we pull the mirror away, let's continue on with the electrical wiring harness. Go ahead and draw that entire thing out and through the door. There it is, friend. A quick note about doing this job, you will find that your mirror is a paint to match mirror, so you would want to have this painted prior to installation. Now let's have a quick look at our brand new outside mirror. Prior to installing, you want to make sure that you remove any protective covers from any of the studs. Typically these are just made out of rubber. You can either twist them to remove them, or you could just pull them right out of place. You can dispose of each of those properly. Now, prior to installing any brand new part, of course we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. So we're focusing inside of this triangular port. For this, I'll use a clean rag. I like to use a little bit of glass cleaner. You can clean this however you deem fit. Just clean out inside this area. We want to make sure nothing's rotted, weak, or damaged. As we bring the mirror towards the door, we're starting with our electrical wiring harness connectors. Slide them through the large diameter port here. We'll just bring that straight on through the door. Continuing on, as you remember during the removal process, there was a small rubber grommet. That needs to be pressed into the door. That's going to help keep moisture and debris out and away from the inside of the passenger compartment. Now that I have that pressed through, as you remember during the removal process, we do have a small rubber grommet. That rubber grommet needs to fit into the corresponding port. Line it up, press it in. If you find you have a hard time pressing it in, you can use a small prying device to help it into position. Just press that in. Can be a tight fit, that's what we want. Now at this point, you can move the wiring harness as necessary. Let's continue on aligning the studs of the mirror with the corresponding ports. We'll make our way along the inboard side. Along the inboard side, we have our three mounting nuts. Start them on, snug them up. I always like to double check these with a hand ratchet. We do want to make sure that these are nice and tight and the mirror cannot move around while we're driving down the road. Take hold of the mirror, attempt to give it a wiggle. It should not move out of place. Let's continue on with the electrical wiring harness and electrical connectors. As you remember during the removal process, there was a small plastic clip securing the wiring harness in place. I'm going to be using this. It presses directly into the door. And now, of course, I can use the wire tie aspect of it, and I'm going to make sure that I secure this. There's different type things you can use for this. Just trim off any excess. That is secured. Let's continue on. As for the rest of this, we're going to bring it down. It comes in and behind this electrical wiring harness, outside of the plastic bracket, but then under this portion of the electrical wiring harness. Now at this point, we'll continue on with our two electrical connectors. As far as the electrical connectors, we have the area for the green connector down along the bottom, and the black connector would be up closer to the next couple of electrical connectors. I'm going to start with the black connector, line it up, press it in, listen for an audible click, make sure it's secured. Same process for the green. Now any of the slack that's still on this wiring harness, we can just bring it up and tuck it into this area, out of the way. One last quick inspection in this area and we can reinstall our door panel. Now when we install the door panel, we're coming up nice and high first. We're going to press it up against the door and then we're going to start pressing it down. We want to try to get this into the fully seated position. Now once you feel as though you have it down far enough, we're going to continue on all the way around the door, driving it in up against the door, and then we'll just double check to make sure it's secured. We'll end up along the top and make sure this is secured as well. All the way up along the top, we'll press this into position as well. There we go, just listen for an audible click from that. On the upper corner, let's get ready to install the door lock knob. We need to make sure we can gain access to our door lock rod. Now, if you find you have trouble, you could use some long nose pliers. We'll take hold of that rod, carefully pull it into an area that we can line this up. Now at this point, I'm going to line this up. I'm pressing it down. I can release my pliers, and now we'll just start pressing this down. We want to have this in the unlocked position. Continue on with your locking tab. Now, as far as this locking tab, you can see that it does have a small groove. When we press this in, that groove is going to go around our rod. This is what locks it in position. Let's leave this in the unlocked position and we'll continue on. Moving along from there, we're heading towards where our inside grab handle is. Just behind here, you remember we had two Phillips head screws. Let's start in each and then tighten them. To install our two Phillips head screws, we'll just carefully get them in position, and of course once they're both started in, we'll snug them up. Okay, this is looking good. Let's make sure they're nice and tight. Next, we'll install our protective cover. As for the protective cover, we need to have it in this orientation. Just have a quick look. You remember there's 4 locking tabs. Let's line it up, press it in. Make sure it's secure. Now it's time to install our master switch panel here. We'll start with the large connector. Audible click from that, and it's secure. If you have a seat memory switch, install that as well. Slide it in, audible click. Let's make sure we tuck the wires down and in. Now we're going to start bringing this down. As you remember during the removal process, each side of the switch panel will have this one locking tab. There's one here, one on the other side. As we start lining this up, we're just going to press it down and through. Double check, make sure that's secured. Let's make our way up. As we make our way up towards the inside door handle, we need to make sure we can gain access to our electrical connector for our door lock. Just reach up in here. Let's go ahead and secure that in place. Line it up, press it in. Audible click from that, and it's secure. Now let's continue on with the rest of this. We're going to take the door handle, we're pulling on it, we're sliding it through the port on this bezel. Now we'll start bringing this into position. Press it in up against the door. Okay friend, we finished the installation of our front door exterior mirror. The next thing you want to do is set it to your preferences and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.